These are not winged angels, not demons from hell. They are something else, because they have no faces, no eyes, no mouths, no smiles, only silence. Nightgaunts. Unlike many creatures in Lovecraft's mythos, beings that were born of cosmic indifference and incomprehensible madness, Nightgaunts have a more intimate origin. Lovecraft dreamt them. At a young age, he suffered recurring nightmares of being snatched by dark, faceless things with leathery wings and inward curving horns. When I was 6 or 7, I used to be tormented constantly with a peculiar type of recurrent nightmare in which a monstrous race of entities, called by me Nightgaunts, I don't know where I got hold of the name used, to snatch me up by the stomach and carry me off through infinite leagues of black air over the towers of dead and horrible cities. They would lift him high into the air, their tails lashing, their talons tickling. Yes, tickling. Lovecraft described it as a torture, a kind of mocking cruelty, and when he awoke, the feeling lingered. Nightgaunts first appear not in a story, but in a poem, Nightgaunts, part of Lovecraft's 1929 sonnet cycle Fungi from Yuggoth. Out of what crypt they crawl I cannot tell, but every night I see the rubbery things, black, horned, and slender, with membranous wings. The imagery is unmistakable. These are not winged angels, not demons from hell. They are something else because they have no faces, no eyes, no mouths, no smiles, only silence. Their first true role in a story comes in the dream quest of unknown Kadath, Lovecraft's dreamlike fantasy novella, written in 1927. Here, the protagonist Randolph Carter encounters them in the peaks of the Dreamlands, specifically on the haunting mountain called Engranek. The Nightgaunts emerge from caves, snatch him without warning, and fly him to a deep, subterranean world. And yet, they don't harm him. They tickle, they clutch, they carry, but they do not kill. Even stranger, later in the story, Carter's allies, the ghouls, are shown riding Nightgaunts into battle, silent steeds of the underworld. Lovecraft described Nightgaunts in vivid detail. Shocking and uncouth, black things with smooth, oily, whale-like surfaces, bat wings whose beating made no sound, and, worst of all, they never spoke or laughed, and never smiled because they had no faces at all. They are thin, rubbery, and disturbingly tactile. They lack faces, but not personality. They never laugh, but they do tickle, and perhaps most haunting of all, Lovecraft never tells us why they behave the way they do. Why the tickling? Why the silence? Why the abductions? That lack of explanation, of motive, is part of what makes them terrifying. In Dream Quest, Nightgaunts are said to serve Nodens, an elder god, vaguely benevolent, who patrols the Dreamlands. This puts them in rare company. They are one of the few mythos creatures not aligned with evil or madness. But good is a relative term. Being abducted by a faceless horror and flown across dark gulfs to the caverns below the world is hardly comforting, even if it's for your own good. Later writers, like Lynn Carter, proposed that Nightgaunts might serve other gods, like Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos. Others, like Brian Lumley, went further, suggesting in one tale that Nightgaunts nursed from the teats of a dark god called Yibtstor. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. Nightgaunts are part of the dreamlands, and in dreams, nothing is ever certain. After Lovecraft's death, other authors continued to summon Nightgaunts into their stories. August Derleth featured them as allies of Nodens in his mythos tales. Brian Lumley gave them expanded roles, sometimes even allowing human characters to ride them. In games and media, Nightgaunts have become recurring figures. In Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, Nightgaunts appear as dreamland denizens. They grapple, tickle, and abduct unlucky investigators, often dragging them to realms unknown. In Arkham Horror board games, Nightgaunts are not lethal, but they can pull players through dimensional gates, derailing their plans. In video games, they've appeared in titles like Alone in the Dark, and even as a grim joke in Quest for Glory. Choose to camp in the wrong forest, and a Nightgaunt gets you. But what does a Nightgaunt represent? Some scholars suggest they're more than monsters. They are symbols of helplessness, of being taken bodily by forces you cannot understand, of childhood fear, of violation without violence. Lovecraft himself was fascinated by the tickling aspect. He hated it. He feared it, and so, in his dreams and in his pages, he turned it into terror. Nightgaunts may not be as famous as Cthulhu or Nyarlathotep. They don't have temples. They don't whisper secrets or promise forbidden power. They simply come. They swoop silently from caverns above the stars. They seize you in their talons, and they fly you away. They don't speak. They don't smile. They don't forget. They are the watchers in your sleep, the hands that tickled Lovecraft, the faceless ones that still drift through the void of dream. So next time you close your eyes, be wary of what waits in the dark.